was wondering. Uh-oh.
Great. So we're going to go ahead and start with introductions. My name is Laura Chavez Sharman, and I'm a project manager here at the Hispano Chamber of Commerce. And Dominic, would you like to start?
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. I'm Dominic Baca. I'm Destination Sales at the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce, as well as part of the hub team here at the New Mexico Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce Business Echo program.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Mike Eli. I'm on the hub team and providing the presentation today.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Greg Mullen. I'm the president and owner here at ABQ IT and happy to host the hub team today here at ABQ's IT's offices and also part of the hub team.
Elliot?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elliot Padras. I am a program specialist with Project Echo. Just here to support the team. Good to see everyone here.
Great. Now our participants. Monica, would you like to start?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Monica Mitchell. I'm the Deputy Director for Economic Development for the City of Albuquerque.
Great, welcome. Mireya?
Hi, I'm Mireya Herrera with Outcome Engine.
Great, welcome. So, is Cootie on? Cootie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. My name is Kuri Teran, and I'm with the Native American Studies Department at UNM.
Susanna? Susanna, would you like to introduce yourself? Okay. Well, I think we can go ahead and get started.
Hi, I'm Susanna Jones with Life Roots. I'm the strategic development coordinator there.
Great. Welcome, Susanna.
I'm trying to get my audio going, so give me 1 second.
Okay. Did we miss anyone? Okay. So so we'd like to get started with the didactic presentation that is going to be presented to you by Michael Eli from FracStrat, and the title of his topic is Map Before You Move. And I'm going to hand it off to you, Michael.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Eli. I'm the founder and principal consultant for FracStrat. We help small companies and mid-sized companies with their operational strategies, their business development, also work in professional development, and then also working with the Hispano Chamber here on the Project Echo. In this Project Echo, what we're really trying to do is create a all teach, all learn environment through the didactics. So I'm going to be asking for input from all of you and for all of us to kind of share and to participate in the presentation to start to build that community feel and atmosphere. So today's session is Map Before You Move. There we go. And talking about systemizing business workflows. Tech alone won't fix a broken workflow. And as business leaders, we're often pushed to move fast. We have those three resources: time, people, and money, which we're all scrambling to get more of. And so the better that we can do work and provide our missions, the more successful we are. Especially when it comes to tech, without a clear map, we risk overspending, overcomplicating, layering tools upon tools, and defeating the purpose of efficiency. The session is not a demo. It is a practical framework for thinking strategically and providing a map and a vision for scaling in the future. Whether you're planning to implement a CRM, automate workflows, or scale customer experience, this approach applies. And we're going to show some real examples and a process that's pretty simple that you could take back today. Before we jump into the process, I was going to ask where everybody in the room feels like they're at in their technology, their workflows, their efficiencies, their effectiveness, productivity, and how they're feeling with their current tech situation, providing the tools and resources to be successful in those areas. So maybe since there's so few of us, we can just kind of have the conversation. Monica, where do you think the city of Albuquerque is at as far as technology in their workflows?
I would say that we're layered, and I would say that every department has different solutions. And I'm sure DTI would argue with me that we don't have a master plan, but every department has different solutions because each of us are dealing with different problems. And I don't know how well each of our solutions flow into a master plan.
Right, man. Yeah.
Sorry. So I'm muting myself. I feel like we are also layered. We do, but with I like to add with a master plan. As a startup, it does take time, and so we do have a process that's currently working, but definitely open to improvement.
Susanna?
I've been attempting to use AI and Power Automate tools to try to automate our workflows and compliance tasks. And I'm currently building some GPTs to try to make my job easier.
Nice. Great.
Hello?
Oh,
Hey. Well, I think we should talk to we're going to have a meeting today about that with my staff. So I think they could always improve. How's that?
perfect. And Curry? Okay.
And just real quick on our end, I feel like we have systems, we have a master plan, but it seems like it's ever evolving and we're iterating on it to try and get more out of it.
I think it's exactly it. I mean, I think you always have to be looking at it, always analyzing it, right? Because it's living, it's breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either of you? Elliot? Anybody else?
Yeah, I guess in terms of my field and in the hospitality realm of what we do at the chamber, it is layered. It's a matter of ensuring that our systems are working with our code departments and ensuring that there's kind of transparency and touch points and kind of communication measures. So it's an ongoing process. I think it's again to your point, it's something that is a consistent job to monitor and then of course project how we can improve those processes. So
Anyone else? You got everybody right? Okay. So this is we're going to be kind of talking through the process of analyzing workflows and a mapping process. In mapping, it really is important. In the military, which I was part of, it's land nav is the number one skill they teach you because you got to know where you're going, right? And so we've all been there. And the other thing that's happening is there's so many tools and resources and choices out there, and they all promise to fix the problem. But it's finding the right fix and applying the right solutions to your specific workflows, to the way you're doing business. I think what I've seen is there's so many solutions that are put into place, or so many solutions that are offered that are out of the box or don't fit. You have to fit to the solution instead of the solution fitting to you. In that matter of fact, 70% of digital transformation doesn't hit the mark today, which is a big number. And so I think so many people try to scale and try to add technology and try to add softwares and then miss the mark, or they don't do exactly what they thought they were doing. That causes frustration. So this is where mapping comes in the process of mapping. When you map the way work actually gets done, then including manual steps and handoffs and bottlenecks, you uncover opportunities that you didn't know were there. So let's talk about the Band-Aids and not the not the first aid kind, but the business kind. As companies often grow, they find temporary fixes to meet the immediate pain points, new tools to patch a process, hiring somebody to alleviate a pain or to create a spreadsheet to close the gaps. And oftentimes these don't hit the mark, or they fix one part of the problem and not provide a full solution. And while these seem harmless over time, they lead to a mess of disjointed processes, duplicated work, frustrated employees, and tools that no one really uses. The result is you're spending more money to do the same work, but with more confusion. Mapping your process first helps avoid these traps by creating a clear strategic path forward. Some of the common band-aids are around those three resources and three that we talked about, which are people, time, and money. And then some of the problems that come out of that is that you create a bigger problem, or you don't solve a solution that you're putting in place. So I created a fake company and a fake process here just to kind of highlight what a worst case study looks like. And so this is a company that's relying on manual processes to achieve what they're looking to solve. And so you can see the client, the sales, the management, and the finance department, and then the different steps in the workflow. And this is based around a credit application process. And so you can see that it's very manual, it's very cumbersome. The sales cycle starts, there's lots of emails in this process, and they have sales has no visibility. Approvals were inconsistent, sometimes based on who asked and not what the policies were guiding them to. And worst of all, the system couldn't scale. They had fragmented communication, manual data entry, no standardized credit evaluation, multiple back and forth emails, high customer friction, and limited visibility. And customer places the order form is sent via email, credit department performs a manual credit check, credit criteria is applied. It's either approved or it's not approved. If it's not approved, then there's more communication with the customer. You can see that the communication is consisting of about 9 to 10 emails within the process. So it's very cumbersome and very labor intensive. This goes across many different pain points for the client. It goes and the employees themselves.
Real quick before you move to the next slide, can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
So it's important, you're saying, to catch the way that their process is today, to really model it out as accurate as you possibly can. For us, when we try this, we do it, and I'm just curious how you guys do it, or if there's a different way. We'll sit down with the members of the process, everybody who participates, and just interview them and ask them to describe the workflow to us the best way that they know how. We'll record those conversations, we'll transcribe them. Then we'll go back to the office, and a lot of times working with AI, try to build the visual model that we're looking at here based on that. Then we'll take that model back to them and we'll say, okay, did we capture this correct? Is this kind of the flow of how things go? And sometimes we'll say, yes, but, then sometimes we do this or that, and then we'll make those changes and then really try to update the model and then bring it back to them until they're like, yes, this is the workflow.
Exactly right. Yeah. Matter of fact, we'll be going over the process here in a second on it and demonstrating that as well. But yeah, you're right on target. Cool. Does anybody have any of kind of examples like this? Or I know this one's really extreme, but do you have workflows mapped? Do you guys do this process of looking at your workflows?
We do internally, and also for our clients. We tend to it really just does depend on our client and whatever group of the team that we're working with. Some of them really like Fig Jam, so they're more similar to what you have on the right side. We just end up writing more of what's everything behind the scenes, and then what can we see? So 2 different flows. It really just depends again on the preference of everyone thinks a little differently.
Yeah.
And yes, we use the process flows as well by department. So how everything kind of comes in and what the flow is for yes, no, email, call, whatever it is, and it breaks out in the diagram side, just kind of for the process flow by department.
Right, the visual, right? To be able to.
Yep, visuals are prettier to look at and easier for a salesperson. So
I agree with that. So looking at workflows, once you go through the process and you look at it, the after picture is quite clear to how streamlined the process become, how you can cut out those pain points, you can increase effectiveness, increase the efficiency, and then of course both of those lend to productivity. Getting to Greg's point, how do you get there and what do you do? And so In the link will be a form on the 5-step process. This is very simple and a starting place. This is a very complex process. Once you get into it, there's a lot more to it, but I think you can define it in these 5 simple steps. Define that trigger, define the starting point, clarify the problem, the opportunity, or the workflow you're mapping. This includes identifying what triggers the process and where it begins with the organization, capturing inputs, responsible roles like you were talking about, and doing those interviews. And so, the trigger, customer submits credit application, the input, complete PDF from emailed operations, and the problem, delayed in approvals due to missing documentation or unclear owner. And so once you identify that, then you can start to build that workflow out and to map that out and to get a picture of what the current state is. Would you agree with that? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then identifying the gaps and opportunities is going to be step 3. And this is where you can really start to dive in and see where those redundancies are or any levels of constraint or least area of constraint, and be able to focus in on those areas to free up the workflow to make sure the effectiveness and the efficiencies are moving strongly. And then step number 4 would be to design the ideal workflow and kind of working backwards. What is the vision of it that you want to achieve? Where do you want to be and how are you going to get there? And then assign roles and activate the system. And I think this is the trickiest one because adoption is the hardest thing, and taking strategy into implementation relies on the execution. And execution is probably the hardest thing to achieve once you have a plan in place. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, would you say that when you model this out visually, sort of the bottlenecks or the inefficiencies kind of become obvious, or is there a better, maybe more nuanced approach to really figuring out where to streamline the process?
Yeah, I think they definitely show up. I think that what happens is that everybody's doing their own responsibilities on a day-to-day basis, and they know their pain points, but somebody else might not be aware to those pain points that's relying on them. And I think when you bring a team or a group together, every stakeholders together within the process, then those are even more relevant, right? And they show up even more, and then the solution can come. Someone goes, "Oh, I didn't know you were doing with that. Well, maybe we need to do this or we need to do that." I think the other thing is really looking at the journey map of each person through the process and what is it they're experiencing, both external and internal. I think it's important to also come from the customer point of view and really pay attention to how the customer's feeling due to your processes and workflow. Right. That's the most important.
So if you're just trying to optimize for the experience of the customer experience or something like that. So is it important to have like a higher level goal of like what you're optimizing for when you're looking at these?
Very much so. And I think, I think it's both sides. You're looking at, I know my problem is, I know my pain is, that's very, visible. But where do I want to go and how do I want to go there? And I think that's where the fun and the creativity comes from. And then there's a lot of best practices. You can bring in consultants. You can look at what other best models are happening, maybe successful companies, to kind of get that vision and help that.
I think one of the something I do before this meeting, and specifically because we're building custom software to, after we determine what those challenges are or opportunities, is I sit down and tell them, okay, between now and our meeting time, every time you may not, a lot of people say, especially small businesses, they say, we know we're inefficient, we just don't know how, like we don't know where our efficiency is. And so I recommend, okay, start documenting your process, but every time you have that or that feeling, write it down, like what caused it. And then when we meet, we would go something similar to what you have here, but we would also touch on those. Okay, what gave you that feeling? Like, let's identify, because a lot of businesses, especially small, they know they have a plan, but there's also they might be missing something that they just tend to have those workarounds for.
Right, get down to the root problem, right, and what is the cause there? I think too, the small business especially, we're all moving so fast. We have limited resources. We're trying to meet the customer need. We're trying to earn an income. There's all these pressures that put on us to make decisions on the fly. And if we don't take time to pause or time to step back and look at it, and it just becomes a bigger mess. You become tangled in a spaghetti bowl.
Yeah. Just to throw out there, I think it's really important to use the visual models like the chart you had up, and
Mhm.
there's different diagrams that can be very helpful in visualizing this. One tool that we found that makes it really easy to take a wall of text explaining a process and then diagramming it. It's an AI tool called Manus, MANUS, is I believe how it's spelled, and it's the best I found to be able to just take raw text explaining a process and then making a visual model of that.
I'd love to see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So final takeaways and action steps is process mapping reveals truth, not assumptions. Clarity before technology ensures better results, and small shifts in process, major gains in efficiency, team alignment, and tool ROI. First, mapping the process shows what really happening and not what you think is happening. Clarity before technology. You'll get more value out of a system if you invest, if it's built around what actually works for your business. And third, even small improvements to your workflows can create big returns in efficiency, morale, and consistency. My challenge to you is to pick one process and start to map it. And then you'll be surprised what you find and what you learn. I'd love to hear what you're learning and what you're seeing. I think in the theme of the echo environment, this is where we can start to learn and grow and share on these things and start to build from these things. The next presentation that I'll be giving will be on scalability, and it'll build upon this piece here about how do you take those different workflows, combine them together to create a full system or a full solution that's successful. So we'll be talking further about that. And I know that Greg bringing in his AI and those kind of things will also play into tools about how to focus in and function within workflows and use these AI tools there. So I'm excited about what's coming and seeing what comes out of this.
Great.
Awesome.
Does anybody have any questions for Michael about the didactic? If not, we'll go ahead and move forward with the case presentation.
That's me again.
That's you.
All right, so I putting a case study together. This is a example from a few different clients that I've worked with rather than naming one person. So we made up this wonderful company called Oakwood Supply. So about Oakwood Supply, they are a 50-employee distribution company. They've had rapid growth over 25 years, high document volume, contracts, invoices, delivery slips, internal forms. The pain point is inefficient paper-based processes and loss of productivity. They've worked in technology and they've tried different things. They've actually implemented an ECM, which is Enterprise Content Management System, to help them with their digital workflows. And they bought it off the shelf and they put it into place and they jumped in. And what they saw was that the software that would fix their inefficiencies by default, the vendor offered canned solutions and the team trusted would be enough. Unfortunately, this resulted in a negative outcome. The software didn't integrate with existing tools, SharePoint, CRM, the ERP. License can cost balloon due to hidden module fee. Users resisted adoption due to complexity and poor UX, and the vendor support was limited post-sale. So what I've seen in some of these things is that clients have put these things in place. They don't get training from the vendor. They're lacking in understanding. The employees are handed a solution. They start working within the system. They start rebelling against the system. And the next thing you know, they're going back and doing what they were doing in the beginning because that's what they know better than what was being implemented. And all due to the fact that the leadership didn't take time to really understand what the solution was or to roll it out in a way that was effective or was able to be adopted. So the consequence of moving too fast is that Oakwood quickly discovered the hidden cost of skipping mapping. The system didn't talk to. Okay, did I do that? Sorry. So what sorry, what was supposed to eliminate chaos ended in up multiplying it. Teams reverted to old habits, emailing documents, printing forms, creating local versions. Their digital transformation stalled and morale dropped. New habits reverted to old habits, and bad habits defeated progress. The turning point was the pause and rethinking. Leadership paused and brought an external They brought outside help and committed mapping their actual workflows. They started with user interviews, cross-functional diagrams. They asked what's actually happening today and what should happen instead. This sounds like a logical step, but it happens all too often, and I've seen it in numerous places. So with a map in hand, Oakwood chose a better fitting system. What they integrated natively with their CRM and SharePoint, they configured user-friendly forms, built automation into the flow, and rolled it out in phases. Adoptions rate climbed, and because of this, their fit actually worked with their needs. The payoff is that there was a 40% reduction in processing time, near 100 to digital compliance and with workflows, consolidated data across systems, and better employee experience and visibility. The key takeaways are don't skip the map. Technology should follow process, not the other way around. System integration matters and user adoption must be planned for. So this time I was just going to see if there's other experiences out there where you've had or you've experienced clients that have adopted technology, had a poor experience, and then how you were able to come back in and fix that, or how your own organization was able to overcome some of these types of problems.
I can go. I had a customer and he came to us because it's essentially the same scenario. And what he said is, okay, I'm paying for this software and I know I need something custom. Please take a look. And so after hours and hours and reviewing their entire process, and really we took a step and said, okay, let me take a look at your system. And based off of all of their needs, the software did that. It was so massive and there was nothing that was documented. There was no support that they did end up hiring us to be able to help them map out that process. But we did give them the opportunity. We said, our recommendation is go back to the salesperson. They have a customer support team. They'll be able to help you implement this. But again, this software, the company was so big that, essentially they said, well, you can, it's just going to cost you, 10 times more for us to step in and help you with this consulting.
Yeah, and we have numerous, obviously being in tech, right? So we have certain customers that go and buy things and they don't talk to their tech company, right? So they have to realize that if they buy something, it touches many things in their environment. Sometimes they don't realize that, and it causes major hiccups. How to play nice in the sandbox with that new software that they integrated. And sometimes it doesn't work out. And then the biggest thing too is the training, the demos, right? So management not doing demos, not doing, hey, will this work with this? What's in your environment? Those are the very important questions. What are you currently using? How is it going to work in our environment? What does it need to touch? Because sometimes it gets integrated and then there's the aftermath when it's already paid for and done. And then exactly for the thing for training and support, it's like, hey, once they get the sale, sometimes they just move on, right? And so, that's not nice to hear sometimes, but you have to kind of trust asking those questions if you do have an IT company or you're working with an IT company, or if you're just buying the software for an organization. I sit on a lot of boards and we do a lot of demos, right? For new technologies, new things that they're bringing into their environment. And we have to make sure that it's the right cost. It's going to check all the boxes within that parameter for them to make sure that they make the right decision. So because technically the board is over those funding, right, to get approved. So we have to be on a lot of demos for that to make sure that they're not skipping steps. And the end user is the experience that they want is going to be there for them. And then that overall technology is going to work. So trust me, we see this all day long.
Yeah, it's all common, right?
It's all common.
Yeah, I was working with a client and they said, oh, we tried to implement a solution. We spent $50,000, but then it turned out all that was for the licensing. You know, and it's like they didn't understand that there's implementation and rollout and training and all that was going to be additional. So it was quite a shock to them once they got to that point.
Yeah, I think it's we just got brought into a client here locally in Albuquerque. They're a manufacturing company, and they were trying to move to a different ERP system, and it's not going well, partly because they skipped the map. And I don't think people realize the amount of risk that that introduces into the business. I mean, they're losing a lot right now. It's costing them way more than just the licensing and that kind of thing, but just measuring the loss of productivity from trying to switch to the system that's not working for them. It's incredible. It could potentially bring a business down.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, so it's really risky. So we're getting involved right now. One book that's really helpful if people like maps and visual models, it's called Visual Models for Software Development. It's by Joy Beatty and Anthony Chin. I used to work for them years ago. Great team. And they made this book that's full of visual models to help map out different processes and really tie software features to different areas of the business. If you're optimizing for things like revenue or profit, it really helps visualize, how a particular software feature is going to do that. If the company that we're working with now would have started with that process, they would have realized that the off-the-shelf ERP they're trying to migrate to wasn't a fit for their business. It didn't match their process, and it would have saved them tons of headaches that they're dealing with now.
Yeah, I think that's where the mapping is so valuable, is that it can save all those missteps, all those lessons learned, all the pain points, and really save a lot of time and money. Anybody else have any other experiences? Ernie, you said you guys were going to have a meeting on this. No? Okay.
Well, no, yeah, I'm having a meeting with my team this afternoon, talk about a lot of things, but this will come into play. Yeah.
Okay. That was a little early.
Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, we'd like to ask you to complete a survey. Your input helps us in developing future curriculum, and your input is helpful in structuring our sessions. So we really encourage you to complete that. I also want to remind you that the next session will be on November 4th. The title is Cyber Risk Management Essentials by Mark Fidel with Fidel Consulting Group. And I'd also like to remind you that our sessions take place on the first and third Tuesday of every month. And we recommend if you can put a hold on your calendar for that time, that would be great. If there are no other questions, I think that is it for us for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for hosting this, Greg. Sorry about the problems here at the chamber.
Thank you, guys.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.